Well, thank you so much for joining. It is my pleasure to moderate this panel. The panel is about the newly funded projects, and the whole idea is that our different groups are going to use about 8 minutes to tell the community about their respective newly funded projects. In other words, it's that opportunity to say, hey, here we are new, but if you need to work with us, this is where to get to us and how to get to us. So we'll first have the three presenters go ahead and make their presentations, and then questions will come later following all three presentations. So please, you have an option to either speak out your questions directly to the presenters or the panelists, or you type in your question in the chat, and we're going to in turn relay it to the specific group that you are directing your question to. Now, to get us going on this panel, we have Engineering Plus to get us take the lead. But before I do that, I must say that you may find me to be a bit biased on my moderation of the panel because I'm involved in some of these projects in one way or the other. On one project, I am serving on the advisory board. On the other project, I'm actually one of the key member or pieces of the bigger project. So when you find me playing some bias here, please don't be questioning why that is the case. So we have, if Marsha, please, can you get us going with Engineering Plus, please?
Sure, certainly. Well, welcome everybody. I'm very happy to be able to present this new includes programming for engineering to my LSAMP colleagues. Very quickly, I just want to let you know that we have, as Chris has said, we have some very key LSAMP colleagues who are going to be involved in this includes. We have Richard Harris, who many of you know, he's with the Northeast Alliance. Also, Teradaro Stark, he's with the Northeast Alliance. There's myself, I'm with the Urban Massachusetts LSAMP Alliance. And of course, everyone here knows Chris. We are going to have integral involvement in this alliance, this new engineering alliance. It's a national one. So you'll have an opportunity to follow up with us individually later on if you have other questions that don't get answered today. So first of all, just want to let you know who's involved with this. We are honored to have Carl Reed as our PI. He has a distinguished background, both at MIT and IBM. And of course, he's been involved with NACME. Many of you in the engineering space are aware of him. And some very influential people who have long experiences. Michael Silovich at Northeastern. I mentioned Richard, Claire Duggan, very influential, important person who's been in the STEM area at Northeastern. Karen Harding with SWE Suite. We are pleased to have an alliance and LSAMP that for maybe the first time, at least in my experience, is going to be working with trying to increase the numbers of women with engineering degrees. And Alan Peterfreund, many of the LSAMP community knows Alan, and Christine Hicks, who will help keep us all together in this very important program. So today's I'll outline, the brief one, deals with the following: how the key components and strategies relate to the LSAMP community and their members, and build a partnership that will help all of us grow the number of graduate and undergraduate degrees earned by BIPOC and women to an annual target of 100,000 to 30,000 engineering degrees, which includes BS, MS, and PhD degrees. At a macro level, we aspire to amplify the success of our LSAMPs in their work to increase the participation of underrepresented populations, obtaining engineering undergraduate and graduate degrees through systemic change. We look to leverage the core assets of the very influential and powerful LSAMP alliances who are in their 30th anniversary year to establish regional networks which will be have LSAMPs as our participating partners with non-LSAMP organization. We're going to use evidence-based high impact practices and programs, LSAMP.
No, I didn't understand the slide at all.
Sorry, Ellen, I hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay. Understanding of the regional educational ecosystems, which is students, faculty, institution, and employers, and political and social capital are stakeholders. Okay. We look to support all the LSAMPs through enhanced capacity of key personnel through the establishment, which has been in place at Northeastern around a STEM peer academy, which will be pivotal in developing or furthering the understanding of key personnel to help us accelerate the growth of engineering degrees and build stronger connections to the diversity in engineering societies, NSF, ACES. And we hope to do this through engaging regional hubs. There will be 2 regional hubs initially, one New England regional hub and one in the Midwest that Chris Batanga will coordinate. And to support scaling of evidence-based high impact practices associated with engineering and develop and provide resources that through the better utilization of data. And so this is really a schematic to have so that you can see how all the different components will stick together. This slide will be available to all the participants today through the conference organizers. The main thing just to say in terms of this is you see regional hubs are in a pivotal position because they are at the ground level to help develop systemic change through their relationships with their localities, with their regions. But as you see, we have all different types of components that must work together in order for us to obtain our goals. So how are we going to do this in terms of components and strategies? Build a backbone organization based on collective impact, understand the near and long-term opportunities through engagement with the LSAMP community, create and support 5 regional hubs. And as I said, initially there will be 2. Engage and train around 100 STEM peers over the 5 years who will be our systemic change agents, catalyst agents. Build strong relationships with diversity engineering societies, very important because they are at the ground level with students. Engage industry partners. We intend to be very proactive in working with industry partners, both at the national level and in the regional level, and foster stronger partnerships between LSAMPs and include community, which, as you know, it has 13 funded alliances and coordination and coordinate with them. So there are 2 questions that we have for you today. We'd like for you to think about. There can be other questions at the end of this entire session that you would like to ask. You can ask anything you want, but we're interested in how do we best learn about your successes with engineering and DEI work that can be scaled through Engineering Plus. And finally, what resources or support would be more valuable to you and your communities. So I want to thank you very much for listening to this presentation. We're very excited going forward with a community of includes and LSAMPs.
Wonderful, wonderful. So excellent job. You stayed on time and actually gave us a minute or 2. So that was excellent. Thank you so much, Marsha. We greatly appreciate your presentation. Again, please, questions will follow at the end of the presenter. So we're going to have our next speaker up in Dr. Ben Flores. Dr. Ben Flores just got funded for a new mentoring center. It's another center, just like you have the LSMRCE. So Dr. Flores is going to share with us what their project is all about. Nice to have you on, sir. Go ahead, Dr. Flores, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Batanga. And I'm going to talk to you about our new research center that is sponsored through the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation Program. We are the Louis Stokes American Rockies and Southwest Center of Excellence, but our label is IMSTEM, and that stands for Inclusive Mentoring in the STEM Disciplines. We are an alliance of 5 institutions. The University of Texas El Paso is the lead institution, but we have also partnerships with University of Texas at Austin, Colorado State University, El Paso Community College, and the University of Texas at San Antonio. My collaborators are listed there. So we are a strong research group dedicated to identifying the best research available that deals with inclusive mentoring practices. Our intention is to synthesize the work that is out there. We have identified a number of gaps to begin with in what is published and what is not published. And some of the gaps that we see are very obvious. There's very little work that has to do with onboarding into industry. That is the idea that our students are being mentored by people in industry. There's very little publication in that area. There's little published information, I would say, that can give us a sense of how our industrial partners are doing their onboarding. So that's something, Marshall, that I think that we have in common. We would like to make sure that we have a much better understanding of these onboarding and mentoring practices. We've also identified another huge gap, and that is the understanding of mentoring at the community colleges and of the students who are transitioning from a community college to a 4-year institution. On the other hand, we know that there's significant information available in the literature that deals with undergraduate research mentoring and graduate research mentoring. However, there is very little in the context of broadening participation and inclusive mentoring. So we're trying to have a much better understanding. And ultimately, what we would like to do is to share this information, disseminate our synthesis of the research that we'll be conducting for the next 3 years through workshops that will be conducted at national laboratories as well as professional organizations such as SHIP, and SACNAS, for instance, just to make sure that we reach out to individuals who may be interested in having better practices. So that's where we are right now. As far as the research is concerned, we want to make sure that we address at least 3 key areas: undergraduate and graduate research mentoring, as I mentioned before, and Dr. Mara Borrego from UT Austin is leading that effort. Communication College and Students in Transition Mentoring, that is being led by Dr. Jose Maldonado from El Paso Community College. And we also have the experiential learning mentoring and onboarding, and Dr. Mark Appleford from UT San Antonio is the lead in that particular category. So we are very fortunate that we have an advisory board that is right now, we're trying to make sure that we have our first meeting in the spring semester. We have representation from Sandia National Labs, Brookhaven National Labs, the National Renewable Energy Lab. So all of these are components of the Department of Energy. But we also have relationships with partnerships with Microsoft's university relations, for instance. And of course, we cannot leave out our LSAMP alliances who have agreed to help us with the project. As I mentioned before, one of the challenges that we have is that we either have an overabundance of information or a lack of information, and we're trying to figure out ways that we can do our research so that we can capture some of these best practices, and perhaps our LSAMP community and also includes alliances can help us identify individuals who have done outstanding mentoring through the years and have perhaps not published that information in the literature, but there may be brochures available. And so we're trying to capture all of that. And one of our approaches is going to be doing an oral history approach so that we can have interviews of our prestigious mentors in the STEM disciplines and extract some of the best information that we can so that we can share it nationwide. One example is, for instance, an engineer at Sandia National Labs. Her name is Sandra Begay, who has over the years done a tremendous work in mentoring undergraduates from tribal colleges and universities who spend a summer with her at Sandia National Labs and then return to their colleges and their communities to do service there. What Sandra has done is absolutely incredible, and we would like to learn more from her work and what other individuals have done as well, so that we will complement our literature research also by looking at specific instances such as that of Sandra to make sure that we capture some of the best practices that are helping us broaden participation. And that's all I have for now. If you want to contact me, please feel free to send me an email at bflores@utep.edu. Dr. Butanga, back to you.
Excuse me. Excellent job, sir. Very good synopsis there on this very, very promising project. So we will have, I must commend the team for doing excellent on time. This is really impressive. So we will now have our last speaker, Ali, to help us introduce their newly funded project and how the community may be able to partner and work together with them for the success of our students. Very often, we always try to, it's always best that we wrap these things around students because that's why we are all here. So Ali, ma'am, if you could take the floor.
Sure, thank you so much. And I guess I'd be the one that you're biased against since you're not involved in our program, but everyone else is, right? So
I didn't want to
take it personally.
I didn't want to disclose, but hey.
All right, let me see if this is going to work here. Oh gosh, I had a down. My computer broke, and so I'm on a loaner computer, and I'm having a little bit of issue here with my slides, of course.
Well, the beauty is that we have a bit of time in our hands, so take another few minutes to see that things work. If it doesn't work, you maybe just talk.
I can yeah, I can absolutely just talk. Yeah, sorry, I'm sort of between computers right now. So I represent the LSMRCE project, which is the Marine Science Laboratory Alliance Center of Excellence. So we are a center of excellence for broadening participation focused around marine science. I work for Moat Marine Laboratory, which is an independent nonprofit laboratory located in Sarasota, Florida, with several field sites. So what we're really looking at with this project is how can we leverage the opportunities that non-academic institutions have with providing undergraduate research experiences for students. And so understanding that marine science in particular is one of the least represented within the STEM fields for underrepresented minorities. And so we're looking at how can we best recruit, support, and then retain these students within the marine science field, utilizing the mechanism of an undergraduate research experience with it outside of an academic institution. So we have several partners on this 3-year grant. We partnered with 2 universities, so the State College of Florida and the College of the Florida Keys, and both of them have several varieties of science degrees that they offer, but many of the students go on to 4-year colleges after that. We've also partnered with 2 other independent marine labs. So we've got the Smithsonian Marine Science Station, and then we also have Perry Marine Institute of Science, which is located, they work mostly out of the Bahamas. So there's 3 independent marine labs and then 2 academic institutions in our partnership. So this project really was born out of the idea that we at Moat host about 220 college interns annually in undergraduate research experiences, and we were seeing a real lack of diversity within the applicant pool, but then also within the students that were coming through this project or through the internships. So we took a step back and said, okay, we need to understand why this is happening and think about how can we support these students during their internship better, and then also help them stay within the field once they continue on back to their academic institution and then on to further education or career. So we're a 3-year grant, and we are actually just entered our 3rd year. We're actually the first non-academic lead institution on any LSAMP. So that was pretty exciting for us to really think about how can we leverage this, the opportunity that we have within an independent nonprofit marine lab situation, given that we've got a lot of flexibility and a lot of ability to make changes as needed. So we also are really building upon our robust internship program, and we're the first marine science focused LSAMP program also. So what we're really trying to do is just first and foremost is collect data around how URMs and marine science sort of intersect, understanding which programs are out there, what opportunities students have. And then we're really looking to assess the boundaries, the experiences, and the needs of the students, but also looking at the mentorship side of things. And so how can we position our mentors to best support these students? We're developing resources and best practices, and then the goal is to really share out beyond just our partners in sort of the next iteration of this. So we've got several activities that we're working through. We're looking at effective recruitment activities and resources. We're doing a lot of pre and post assessments, including interviews, surveys, and analysis of products that are produced. And then we're also really working to build out a really robust mentoring training program for the staff involved in this, and that's all the way from the PhD level down all the way into staff scientist level. And so we're utilizing the mentoring curriculum, as well as some other resources, including an ally skills training that we've implemented. So we're doing a lot of assessment around that. And then we're also looking at how can we create networks for these students. So after they have completed their internships, how can they stay connected and be connected to other marine scientists, both for things like guidance, but also for sort of creating those professional connections as they move through their career. So that's about all I have on my slides, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Our website is www.marSCILACE.org if anybody is interested in looking further at that.
Excellent, Ali. That was superb. Talking of the slide, so it's good to have the project in your arms, in and out. So that was very good. Thank you. So we will open the floor now for questions for our attendees to be able to ask questions on any of the projects. But I may go ahead and start using my privileges, if you may permit. I will go to the engineering plus Marshall or anyone on the team could take on the question. I know an answer to it only because I'm an insider, but Marshall, in the presentation, you talk about starting up with 2 regional hubs and to add 3 more at a later point in the project. If you could share with the participants on how those additional hubs will be added. And also, is it going to be based on a regional approach, just like the 2 hubs that are going on right now, or what is the plan?
Yes, well, I would like to defer to Carl, Dr. Carl Reed, who is the leader of this project. He and the co-PIs have an expansive view in terms of how we will grow over the next 5 years. And of course, Alan Peterford has some input, but I defer to Carl.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alan. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Marshall and
yes.
Ron, thank you, colleagues. Just a quick answer to the question. So our plan is to have about 150 institutions that are part of the the Engineering Plus Alliance over the next 5 years, at least 150. And these are higher education, K to 12, those that provide, and community colleges as well. So the network really will be expansive. We are going to learn lessons from the first 2 hubs that you mentioned, Chris. One in the New England area and one based on the Midwest Center of Excellence. But we're also going to be offering other regions the opportunity to join by way of a competitive proposal. And so we are developing a rubric for determining who would want to be a part of this and what the commitments will be. And then there's funding available for that, the regional hub, annual funding available to really expand that. So there'll be a sort of a competitive process. Alan, is there anything else that I missed on that?
No, and I think that was spot on. First of all, Marshall, I apologize for not knowing I was on mute. But actually that slide had a key point that it relates to this question. And that is, our success depends on what the LSAMPs have been doing and continue to do and join in with us as part of our work. Because we're not going to be successful unless we are able to amplify the success of the LSAMPs. And so as part of the whole regional model, what we're looking for will be subsequent choices that are based on regions that are really able to focus on engineering and bring those assets that you've developed in the LSAMP community forward to be part of our project. And I think that, it's a really key premise that our goal is only successful if we leverage this, what all the hard work people have been doing for the last many years and continue to be doing right now. We can't achieve our objective independently. That's really our key point.
Very good, sir. Excellent. Thank you so much. We have, perhaps let me go to Catherine Thomas. The hand was raised at some point. Please, if you can unmute yourself to speak, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may reside. I just had a follow-up question for Dr. Reed. I was curious, you said that there would be an opportunity to bring in other educational institutions and partners with this grant. What is the best way for someone like myself who's working at a community college to start learning and prepare to become a part of it?
Catherine, thank you for your question and good morning to you. We will be, as we're mentioning, sort of leveraging the relationships and the network that already exists, and that's the Lewis-Stokes Alliance. So I would one way might be to have the PI or the co-PIs of that alliance to reach out to us. But as Marshall accurately pointed out, this goes beyond the Lewis-Stokes Alliance. So we're going to be reaching out to others through the networks of the societies, ACES, NSB, and SWE, as well as others. So we just ask that you kind of reach out to us through Marshall or Richard, since we already have the connection, and we can start to begin to kind of have the ongoing conversation about how to become part of the Alliance.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, very good. So let me thank you so much for the question, Catherine. And let me, while we see if there are any questions yet, no hands raised or chat box question yet. So let me go to Dr. Flores. So it sounded to me as though at some point you will actually be interested in sort of mining for mentors and then see where mentors are in terms of actually getting their skills available in publications. Did I get that correctly, sir?
Yes, what we are looking for is some examples of outstanding individuals within the LSAMP community that have dedicated their work to mentoring. So in this area, we know that most people are truly focused on their research, in their research labs, and they don't necessarily publish much in venues or in conferences where they can share their mentoring experiences, because they are truly, I would say, they're truly best practices. And what we want to do is learn from them, because we don't have access to that type of information. So we're thinking that following an oral history approach, where we interview our outstanding mentors and then determine what their practices are based on this interview, then that we can synthesize the work of several of our colleagues and then share it with everybody.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. And for the audience, just to point out that when you are hearing about mentoring, you are hearing from one of the best in our nation. Ben Flores has received a presidential award for his mentoring ability. So he is one of the best we know in the country. So he knows exactly what he's talking about. Now, is there a chance that we have some level of partnership? So there are two questions I have for Ali. Yeah, you can take it as two questions. The first is, your interest appears to cover a very broad spectrum, virtually across the educational strata. And I was wondering whether you could share something about your plans, your recruitment approach, how you plan to recruit students into the Marine Science Regional Center. That's the first part. Secondly, there is also a strong mentoring piece in your project, as you narrated. I'm wondering whether, just asking this off your feet, whether you were able to see a niche where you can actually partner with LSAMP, with Dr. Flores. So, Ali, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're working on a relatively small scale with our recruitment efforts, focusing on these two academic institutions that we have as our partners. However, we do have, within my institution, we've got about 24 philanthropically funded REU positions that we're also going to be recruiting through the LSAMP network for those positions. I think our biggest finding on the small scale that we are recruiting through the grant is that I think students need, there needs to be sort of an advocate for the students at the institutions who really know the students and really reach out to them directly, so that they are the ones that are putting them together, particularly in the audience that we're working with, which are not at a research institution. They may not even understand what an internship is or why they should be doing one. And so what we've done is develop a lot of resources to sort of take away some of the mystery of that, as well as adapting our application so that it's a much more broad kind of approach, and then us working directly with the students to figure out the best fit for them. We do also realize that a lot of students can't take 10 weeks off during the summer and do an intensive REU. So we're offering part-time models for this throughout the school year, so that students can continue to work or have other obligations, they can still do that. So that's what our initial big recruitment findings are. I think there's a lot of barriers to effective recruitment sort of at a larger scale. And so, yeah, but we're trying to work through some of those on a smaller scale.
Excellent, excellent. Now,
and then the second question you had, yeah, I absolutely think good mentoring is good mentoring. And so, I think it doesn't matter what field you're in necessarily. I think that there is probably a lot of overlap and synergy with some of the other areas that are really focusing on mentoring, since we all know how important it is for students.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Just let me, if I were to take myself or the Illinois Alliance as an example, if I identify students within my alliance that would be interested in marine science, do I just relate them to your website, or how do they really get their feet into your project?
Yeah, we'll put something out through the LSAMP network, hopefully in like December. So people look out for that. And then, yeah, we have a special sort of section within our website that we're going to be posting that. And then we've got some contact folks in case students have any questions and would like to speak to a real person. We're really happy to do that also. And if they've got any issues going through the application process, we can sort of walk them through it and help them with it if they need it too. So
Excellent.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, we'll look for
you.
it coming out in December.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I see a hand raise. My good friend Richard Harris has a hand raise. Richard, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to ask about the LSMRCE project. And I think I heard that there were some collaborations being pursued. And we have up in the New England area, I'm sure she's very familiar, Abby, with the WHOI, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. And so they've been on an effort to also identify ways to increase historically underrepresented students within the space of marine science, oceanographic science. And there's a gentleman, African-American scientist by the name of Dr. Gerald Ambrose, who has been very aggressively trying to find ways. And we've made some inroads there, but I'd like to know, is your organization or LSMRCE, the project, able to or is already connecting with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute here in Massachusetts?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really intentionally started very small with this, but we also, when we submitted, we put in letters of support from WHOI and a couple other institutions with the expectation that they will hopefully start participation with us as we're sort of expanding beyond our small alliance. And so they're on the list of folks who we'll be reaching out to within this year to think about what are the next steps and how can we bring in other institutions and think about how can we approach this in a more broad sense.
Okay, great, thank you.
Very good. I see that we have 2 hands raised for questions. Unfortunately, I cannot tell who those raised. Oh, I think Carl is one of them. Yes. So go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And this is a question for Dr. Flores. You know, one of the things that you talked about was the mentoring and transition to community colleges, and which is critical. Part of the Engineering Plus Alliance is to focus on the critical junctures in the educational pipeline. So high school to community college to undergraduate 4-year college, and then to the master's and PhD, as Marshall pointed out. So one, we'd love to have an opportunity to collaborate what you've learned, what you're learning, what you will be learning on the mentoring piece. And if there's a way that learning can find its way into the peer academy. But what is your early thinking on those transition points? Have you started to really kind of uncover some ideas around mentoring at the community college linkage?
Yes, absolutely. And what we found, of course, is that the stronger mentoring efforts are always in collaboration with 4-year institutions where there are specific bridge to the baccalaureate programs. And not only do the students from community colleges benefit from that, they're also ensured a smoother transition to the university as they finish their associate's degree and start the baccalaureate degrees. And we couldn't do this without the efforts of community college faculty who are actually going well beyond their commitment to their institutions, because they are now participating in research. And we know that community colleges are very different institutions because they have a regional mission. So that means that when we engage faculty as mentors, they have to negotiate with their administrations the time that they dedicate to this particular effort. So, I mean, these people go well beyond their institutional commitments, and we're very proud of them. But that's essential. I think that partnership with 4-year institutions is truly not only inspiring, but critical.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that response. I think we should take a final question here with Chuck. We have the privilege, Chuck, to have you. Please go ahead with your question, sir.
Okay, thank you. I've got a couple. The first one is for Ali. So I'm in Wisconsin, and believe it or not, every now and then we have students who are actually interested in marine biology or marine science. And I say, and I tell them, okay, we're sort of we've got the Great Lakes, but we don't have a lot of like ocean. I need connections outside of Wisconsin to connect these students to some experiences and opportunities. It sounds like my question for Ali is our focus more for regional students, or would it be open to students across the nation? I assume with an REU, the answer would be yes. And with that REU, just curious when those applications would be available. And for Dr. Flores, we have had a LSAMP program for 9 years, and it's always included a mentoring program. And we started it 9 years ago. I knew very, very little about mentoring. And 9 years later, I've through successes and learning experiences, I've learned quite a bit, which I'd love to share if he would like my experiences and the experiences of the mentors that we've that have had several years of experience mentoring.
Okay, so thank you so much, Chuck, for the question. We are pressing on time now, so I'll have Ali go ahead and take the first question, and then please keep response to about 40 seconds at most.
No problem.
Please go ahead.
So it does happen that students who don't live near the ocean like the ocean, and so we're more than happy to take students. We have an NSF, we're an NSF REU site, as well as having these philanthropically funded REUs, as well as we also take college interns in an unpaid program. So we absolutely take students from across the nation. Applications will open in late December. And again, I'll send that out through the LSAMP network. And we're exclusively reserving the 24 spots for underrepresented minority, particularly through the LSAMP program.
Excellent, ma'am. Dr. Flores, sir?
Well, I was just typing a message to Chuck and just let him know that we'll be reaching out to him.
Okay.
We'd love the opportunity to interview you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, panelists and audience, unfortunately, good things often, don't last too long. It appears that we've come to the close of this very, very great panel. And I believe that you have, at this point, have a bird's eye view of what the different projects are about. You can see a very rich project in different areas. And one thing I meant to point out, which those of us in Engineering Plus will take a note of, is that Ben Flores is actually an engineer, his background and training. So it's absolutely a gem for us to have him as part of the project. But I want to thank you, the panelists, for the time you put in, and the audience for the very, very insightful questions. We would close now right on time to now wrap up, going to the closing ceremony that comes up in about 15 minutes. So thank you again very much, team. Well done. Thank you. Bye-bye.